Howdy y'all, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Nameless Anomaly, and I'm going to give you a raid guide to it. Alright, first off, let's just talk about general advice about going into the raid. First off, I'm not going to go over like every single raid buff in detail, but like, don't expect it to be like TCC where you can literally just stack 3 defensive buffs, right? Like you can just go in basically glassy and just get like 60 defense every run and like 10,000 health. That's not really what TNA raid buffs are like. There are ones that you can end up with like 50 defense or like 40 agility from raid buffs by the end, but they're not nearly as prevalent in the Nameless Anomaly. You're certainly not guaranteed to have defensive buffs when you do the Nameless Anomaly. I would also suggest that a really good idea would be to get like high walk speed or high spell spam ability for movement, or something like Phage Pins, Gale's Sight, something that lets you actually like spam your spells. Or sorry, spam your movement spell, because you're gonna need it for the final boss. Alright, now for archetypes, this isn't a hard and fast thing. This is just my thoughts. Monk is really good here because of movement, obviously. Arcanist and Lightbender. I say that just because Arcanist has Psychokinesis and Lightbender has Ophanim. If you don't have either of those, it's going to be much harder to hit Greg, since Greg doesn't sit still. Acrobat and Trickster. I mean, that's just any assassin archetype. You can get Acrobat with Marked and Trickster with Marked. That was kind of just my thinking. And Shaman, whatever works. I mean, I've played with a Summoner and I've played with Acolyte Ritualists, so whatever tickles your fancy. And then Sharpshooter. Oh yeah, and then for Archer, probably Sharpshooter. I've never ran with a person with the Guardian Angels, but you really want Frenzy or like Stormy Feet, I think it's called. You want something to increase your speed with Greg, but Archers are actually pretty good for the Greg boss fight. But you want to be able to increase your speed. It's kind of iffy about Phantom Ray sometimes for hitting Greg though, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So that kind of gives is the end for the basic rundown. Now let's dive right into it. Let's go into room 1. So for the first room of Nameless Anomaly, you're going to end up with one of 2 rooms. The Flooding Canyon or the Hold Room. Let me address the Flooding Canyon first. I affectionately call this the Rift Room. Basically, in front of you, when you enter the room, there's going to be a berry sitting on a pedestal and a bunch of rifts in the room. What you want to do is you want to let your tank get the berry, unless your tank is your healer, in which case you don't want the tank to get the berry, because once you grab the berry, you're going to become blind, you're going to have a ton of like negative walk speed, and you are going, or for some reason you get like slowness, something like that. And you can't cast spells. So you don't want your healer to get it, because they won't be able to cast spells, right? Now, the goal of this is to lead the person who took the berry around the room so that they can kill the rifts, because they're the only one who can kill the rifts. They get, like, massive melee damage. And if you are holding the berry, the rifts are marked somewhat by pink blocks on the ground. You'll notice that there's a difference in the blocks on the ground. Otherwise, your teammates should lead you to each rift. That's how my most successful runs are, is somebody literally just stands by each rift as you kill it. For this one, you have to be pretty fast, because otherwise you'll team wipe. You only get like 2 minutes to do it, to kill all the rifts. But and I would also watch out for the enemies. Do not let them like spawn too much, because they will overwhelm you and kill you. or not really kill him so much as just stun lock you and make it hard for the berry holder to get to the next rift. But anyways, that is it for the floating cannon. After you get all the rifts, you'll be floated up into the air and go to the next room. For the other room that could be your first room, we have the hold room, or the plat room. And this one is really, really self-explanatory. You just need somebody to hold the plat. That's all you need. Somebody just to hold the plat in the middle. I would suggest the lowest DPS. The person who holds plat has to take like several hits from like a little beam, but it's not much. Like I don't know. I don't know if anyone can hold plat, but I wouldn't think too much about it. I would just use the lowest DPS that has some tank. Like, don't put your Divser guy on it maybe, but put like somebody with well, yeah, Divser wouldn't have lowest DPS anyways, but like that person just has to hold plat. They have to take occasional, like, I think like 3k damage hits or something like that. It's not much. And then the people who do not hold plat have to kill these rifts that spawn, like these void holes that spawn. And if they don't kill the rift in time, it'll just spawn in a random place. A big, scary monster will spawn and deal lots of damage, and you'll have to kill that. But otherwise, it's fine. But I would really recommend killing the rifts. Like that monster deals like a ton of damage. It's like a Heart of Darkness, I think it's called. But really, this room is pretty easy as long as everyone's paying a modicum of attention. Alright, and now on to room 2. We have the dark room. Now, this one is an interesting room. So, one of you is going to stand on top of a sea lantern, and you're going to take the light, right? That person will then have an aura of light around them. You'll see it with like little particles around them, and there will be like a sea lantern above their head. And everyone has to stay within that radius or take damage, basically. You're going to go through 2 rooms. In the first room, you're going to have to kill these shadowlings. And they're invisible, but they have like they're Endermen with like Enderman particles around them, but they're otherwise invisible. And so you're going to have to kill those. The light guy is going to have to guide you through the room. Like, nobody gets blinded or anything, but like they're gonna lead you through the room and let you kill all 3 shadowlings. And then you're gonna go to the next room, and this is where the mistakes can happen, and really, really bad mistakes. You're going to be climbing up platforms, and what I would really recommend doing is somebody who has range in your party, either like maybe not a mage, but like an archer. Maybe an assassin with smoke bomb, I don't know. Somebody wants to kill all of the enemies on these platforms before you get there. If you can't, it's not the end of the world, but what's going to happen is you're going to jump to one platform to the next and get to the top, and the danger is that a mob is going to hit you and stun lock you, and you're going to fall, and if you fall, it's a death sentence, basically, unless you're like a mage, or you can like jump back up, or like movement spell back up, basically. But the main danger I've seen when this happens is that the light holder will jump down, and then kill everybody on the upper platforms, like condemn them to death, but then they won't even save the person they jumped down to save, because that person was trying to movement spell back up as well, and so you end up with a party wipe at that point. My biggest advice would be, if you're the light holder, don't swoop down unless literally everyone jumps off. Okay? Stay on the platforms. Alright? And then you're going to go into a room and you're going to fight a boss. The boss has like wave spell and stuff, so be freaking careful. If you're not holding the light, you have to be on a swivel. You be on a swivel. You're going to need to stay by the light guy. Because you don't want him moving around erratically. Okay? And that's the thing for the light guy, but don't move around erratically either. But yeah, you're just going to kill that boss and then go to the next raid buff room. Alright, and the other room too that you can get is the hunter-gatherer room, or as I like to call it, the tree room. So you're going to have 2 basic groups. One guy, so first off, outside of the tree. You're going to kill tree shrubs, soul tree shrubs or soul shrubs, whatever. You're going to kill them. You're going to get big text flashing across the screen that says, you killed the soul shrub. Unless you're a corrupted warrior, in which case you're not going to see that. But you're still going to get the soul shrub. And you're going to come to the middle. You're going to stand on like an end portal block. And it's going to count down. And it's going to pop you off. And somebody's going to be able to go into the tree. Right? And if you go into the tree, you're going to go into the tree, and there's going to be a bunch of void holes and stuff. And people outside are going to have to collect soul shrubs, stand on the end portal block, and that's going to open these void holes for the person inside the tree. Okay? And the person inside the tree, you're basically just going to wander around through the void holes until you find this Isoptera, I think it's called. It's basically just like a mini boss. And you have to kill it and pick up like a lapis that it drops, and you either exit the tree or keep looking, and then bank it at the altar where the end portal block is, and then you go back into the tree again to get another one. It's really in simpler terms, the people outside open the door for you. The guy inside the tree is just trying to kill a mini boss, collect a resource, and then get out of the tree. That's as simple as it can be. That's what it is. I honestly don't know if there's a pattern that you have to go through the things in. I literally just wandered around when I've done the tree, and that's worked out fine. But yeah, so that's the tree room. I have found that it's somewhat easier to do as the gatherers, quote unquote, the soul shrub people, if you kill like the crustaceans and the other guys that spawn, because they can just harry you and be really, really annoying at some point, because they'll knock you off the end portal block. But then you're going to complete that, and all of you are going to go inside the where the end portal block was. It's going to open up, and you're going to go to the next raid buff room. And then you're going to go to room 3, which will either be the bulb room or the gather room. Let's go the bulb room first. So in this room, you have 3 blue bulbs, and there's going to be like bulb catchers that spawn that look like like hunchback pigmen or something like that are going to try to take your bulb. You don't want them to take your bulbs. Kill them. And then there's going to be bulb keepers, which are like guys that have a big red bulb on their head. And you're going to want to kill that guy. He's going to spawn a bulb, and you are going to want to pick up that bulb and take it to one of your blue bulbs, and that's going to give it energy or whatever. Okay? Now, the things to note. Once you grab the bulb, I don't think you can cast spells. There's also going to be monsters that spawn, so you want decent walk speed. And the bulb will integrate into the blue bulb, it'll add to the blue bulb, on proximity. Like, it's not a right click or something like that. So be really careful if your bulb is like across other bulbs, because if you walk past another one, it'll just automatically add to that one. Okay? And you only need one to max out one blue bulb to get to the next area. And once you max out that blue bulb, it's going to spawn a void hole, and everyone needs to stand on that, and they go to the next area. For tips for this area, I would say don't camp the blue bulbs. Don't stand like near the blue bulbs the entire time, because as of right now, at least, it might change, but as of right now, it decreases your chance of bulb keeper spawning dramatically. So just don't camp your blue bulbs, because it can be really damaging to your bulb keeper spawn chances. All right. Yep. Then the gather room, or as I call it, the mat room, because basically what's going to happen is you're going to have two quote-unquote groups, right? You have one group defending a void hole and the other group that's going in these 4 little tunnels and gathering these materials, okay? What I would really suggest, my personal preference, is you have one gatherer and 3 people defending the void hole. It's all you really need. Get somebody who has good DPS and hopefully good mobility, and just let them gather all 4 mats. And unless they're going too slow, then maybe have 2, but no more than 2. 2 is all you need. I would not suggest leaving one person alone guarding the void hole, because it's on a timer anyways. It's not like you can go like faster or anything. But once you gather all 4 mats, you're going to bring them to the void hole. You're going to bank them at the void hole, and then you're going to still need one more that's going to be that you're going to get from defending it. There's really, this room is like super easy. I've never had like a problem with it or like failed it in any way. You just got to watch out, make sure you kill all the mobs that are coming to the void hole, and kill all the waves. But yeah, that's the gather room. You're going to go through the void hole once you kill the boss at the end of the waves. It's really not like a terribly hard boss. It's you just need enough DPS. And then you're going to go to the next room, and you are going to raid buff for the final time before you fight Greg. All right, a few little tips for Greg. Just before we get into the technical side of it. For the tank, if you have a shaman, you want to try to keep Greg in the shaman's totem, or really as still as possible. Currently, I'm not going to show it because I don't know if it's ban worthy, but I don't want to teach people how to do it. But there is an exploit where you can get him stuck at the moment, but I don't know if I suggest doing that. The legality of that is somewhat questionable. But if you are the tank, I would try to keep Greg in the totem or keep as still as possible. That's not going to be possible for everyone, of course. But if you're, say, like a battle monk, for instance, you can literally look straight down and whirlwind strike charge cycle, and just look straight down, and you can just hover right above Greg's hitbox, like where he can hit you, and you won't die. Otherwise you have to be like exceedingly tanky to like stand still like that. If impossible, I would lead him like back and forth in a line, or just like that's basically it. You need really good mobility and stuff to do that. Otherwise, around the arena, there's going to be little ones that spawn. They're these little monsters, and if you kill them, they will become greater ones. And you want to kill greater ones very badly, because they are a nuisance. And if you have negative thunder defense, they will absolutely ridiculously shred you. They will turn you to Swiss cheese. They will murder you mercilessly. They have so many hits. It's actually ridiculous that they gave them that many projectiles. Then we have this is one of Greg's spells. I just wanted to mention it briefly before we go into like his actual like roving spells. This is the watch. Greg is going to go to the middle of the arena, and an eye above him is going to shoot lasers at people. And occasionally on a player's screen it's going to flash, "You are watched," or something like that. And if it says that, just keep moving. This phase is really easy. Just keep moving. Really, that's it. If you're a mage, I would kind of like, if you can, I would just kind of just suggest like flying around in this part, unless you need to heal your teammates. But like, also if you're a watch, don't like stand right in front of somebody and let the red beam hit them, because that's the really bad one. Is the red is like the flame particle one. That one's like a little bit more slow moving, and it'll have like a massive AoE of like 8 blocks or something like that. And it deals like 55% HP true damage. So Just keep moving in this phase, and you'll be just fine. Don't move into one. That's another thing. Like, pay attention to the flame particle. Okay. But now let's get to the actual Greg fight. Like, what spells you're going to have to look out for, what spells are you going to have to deal with, what are some strategies that can help you. Okay, first off we have the void holes, and these are just what Greg leaves behind on his leaps and his lunges. If you fall into one, you're going to take about 7,000 damage, which in the grand scheme of things, after raid buffs and stuff, isn't like the end of the world, but it is a significant amount of damage, and I would avoid doing that. A little tip, if the arena is absolutely covered in void holes, the sides of the arena, Greg won't put any like void holes like all the way to the edge, so you can kite Greg around the sides of the arena if that's an issue. All right, and here we have like these purple projectiles that he'll shoot in like an X pattern around him. And you should be seeing these on the screen too, like the actual, like what the spell is, or like the wiki definition of the spell. But these purple projectiles will deal 10% true damage, and so watch out for them. That is a lot. That's a lot of damage. And I don't really like that Greg has a ton of true damage, but it's whatever, I guess. Greg also has a like leap spell. He'll jump up and then slam down in a big explosion and make a void hole. That's going to do about 8,000 damage. A lot of these are like rainbow damage or like elemental damage. And then this next one is really, really, really dangerous. It's his lunge. So he'll like do a sound effect, and then he'll like lunge forward, and you'll hear like almost like block breaking noises as he like flies across the arena, and he goes too fast. You can't outrun him when he does this. Like, maybe at max health, at like when he's above low health, you can, like when he has good health, you can avoid it. But like when he gets low health, he will stack this, and he will fly across the arena faster than any movement spell. And honestly, I don't know how to survive that when he's at low health, because he can stack them and hit you multiple times. And like, I've gotten to the point where I've been stun locked by his lunge, and it's just beating me down to 0 health. So I think that's a bit BS. But normally you can either just tank it or just like dodge to the side or something like that when you hear the block breaking noises coming at you. The handless, they're gonna be these big hands that you'll see that deal 7k damage. Again, I would just try to run around. Like, again, movement is going to be king here. A lot of Greg's stuff you cannot outrun. Like, unless you have like obscene walk speed. Like, I'm talking like 150% walk speed, maybe even higher than that. If you don't have that, you're not going to be able to outrun Greg. You're going to need to have good movement spells. You're going to need to like be in third person, or at least aware of the arena. You're going to need to be aware of all of this, and be able to dodge things, because these handless are going to go higgledy-piggledy around the arena, and you're going to have to be wary of where they are and dodge them. Okay. The next one is bombs. These are deadly. These are scary if you get hit by them, but I don't. Hopefully, getting hit by them shouldn't be a problem. He shoots these bombs out in a huge spread. Each one does 10% true damage and 6,000 damage. Watch really carefully, because sometimes he'll drop it like in a really small area. Like, I think it's like a bug or something like that, but he'll drop it in a really small area where and you can run over him and it'll do 100% true damage. So I would watch out for that. This next spell they decided to add while I was editing this video. Basically, the boss is going to shoot out a whole bunch of skulls, 4 per person, but sometimes he multicasts it, so it could be like 8 per person or something like that. If all of you are still alive, it's going to be this massive cloud of skulls. Fortunately, it doesn't do too much damage. It deals like 3,000 damage, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a whole lot considering raid buffs and stuff. But they're quite hard to dodge. If you know Charge AI, they use Charge AI. So you can kind of confuse them by moving around and baiting them and stuff. They'll only go to where you were. So just if you keep moving, they'll have a much harder time hitting you. And really that's just the kind of the theme of this raid is movement is king. And that's the same with these eyes. These eyes will spawn and track everybody and do 2,000 true damage and 4,000 damage. And I'd say like with spells, if it's between getting hit by these spells or moving around and not DPSing Greg, I would say move around, because like you living is going to add DPS to Greg. You if you die, you're depriving your team of DPS for like the several minutes that it's going to take them to finish fighting Greg. So I would say safety and carefulness over damage. Alright, this next one is going to be a floating void hole. A void hole it's just going to float above your head, and it's going to deal 4k to 10k damage, depending on how close you are to it. And for this one, literally just keep moving. Like, don't lead it into your team, maybe, but like, literally just keep moving. Like, if everyone keeps moving, nobody's going to get hit by it. That's literally what I could sum this fight up to. Literally just keep moving. Yep, it's a hand is gonna come down when it's ready, like when it finishes, but you're not gonna get hit by that if you just continue to keep moving. But if you're like really slow walk speed, why are you low walk speed when you're fighting Greg? But if you're low walk speed and you see a hand start coming out of the void hole, use a movement spell, get out of the way. Alright, and then he has these blue lines that he'll lay down sometimes. They're like a blue and red striped line that he'll put down on the arena. Kind of resembles the Riftwalker lines that for that one walk speed boost thing on the Riftwalker tree. And if you walk into those, it'll rapidly deal 1% true damage and 1,000 damage to you. So I would really watch out for that. Because because as we know from this next spell, the Purple Circle, DPS true damage spells are just BS, are just deal so much damage. This last spell is, I think, the most BS spell that Greg has. It's the Purple Circle spell, and what he's going to do is he's going to lunge forward at you like a charge spell, like a warrior charge spell. He's going to lunge forward, and in his wake, he's going to leave like 3,000 true damage a pop, purple circles that can deal damage per second to you. So if you walk like, but if you like, this doesn't really have a telegraph. So if you're just fighting Greg and you like, if you see purple circles, do not walk into them, because they're not like the eyes purple circles where they're a telegraph to a damage thing. These are just damage things. These are not telegraphs. These are damage. If you see them, do not walk into them, okay? And it's hard to tell sometimes because Greg also has purple particle spells that aren't purple circles. But if you walk into them, you are going to die, basically, unless you're very lucky. Like, what sucks about this is if you're standing still to tank Greg, he might just use the spell, and like even a tank player might just die from it. It's a really BS spell. To combat this, literally, you kind of have to stay a certain distance away. Like, I think this is only really relevant, like, well, maybe not only, but, like, this is actually kind of just relevant in general, that if you have Greg's aggro, like, you're not a tank or nothing, just lead him around and stuff, and you should hopefully be safe from this. And if you see him charge at you, escape to the side and stuff. But yeah, the purple circles you just gotta watch out for. I would also say for like his leap spell where he pops up and then hits down in an explosion, you can movement spell towards him if you see him doing that spell, and you'll have a less chance of getting hit. But yeah, that's all of Greg's spells. And just anecdotally, My most successful runs of Greg, the tank keeps Greg in one spot, and everyone can DPS him. This is especially relevant for like sharpshooters. If you let a sharpshooter ramp up their focus, God, they can slay gods. So I would just stand still at one spot and let your sharpshooters ramp up focus. Of course, that's not always like possible for a tank to do because tanks only have so much health, and Greg has so much true damage and just so much normal damage too. My most successful runs also contained one person using like an exceedingly high damage build. Like one person in one run was using Divzer, one person in the other was using Fallen Thundercrack. My personal recommendation to everyone is to use a build that you think could solo Greg, because that's what I use. My build, I use like a Hero Boreal build that's a Fallen build. And I've soloed Greg multiple times. And what that basically means is have enough EHP to like tank some hits, because I think some hits are just inevitable with Greg, and have enough damage. The main point is having enough damage to actually kill Greg if you're the last one left, because man, I mean that's not to say you can't play a tank, because again, playing a tank is a really important role, but like for instance, I play Battle Monk and stuff. I don't play like Hyper Tank, and I can still provoke Greg and stand in one spot by looking down and Whirlwind Strike plus Charge. So that's just my personal advice, and I hope y'all found this raid guide helpful. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this, and let me know in the comments if a TCC raid guide video would interest anybody. But anyways, have a good one, y'all.